Cold Alpha Heir held my love diary, warned me never love him. As he found I burnt it, he regretted. Aaron always chose the quietest corner of the university library, 4th floor, near the window where sunlight softened the wooden shelves like a warm blanket. It was the only place he felt safe enough to bleed ink onto paper. Today he wrote slow and careful. I love him in silence because silence is the only place I'm allowed to. He hesitated, fingers trembling. He could hear Lucian Drake's voice in his head, cold, steady, unreachable. The Alpha Heir of Drake Holdings. Untouchable. A name spoken with either fear or admiration. Never affection. Aaron closed the diary gently, hugging it to his chest for a second, like a secret heartbeat, before slipping it into his backpack. But exhaustion had other plans. He fell asleep at the table, cheek pressed to open textbooks, chest rising and falling softly. And when he woke to the announcement, library closing in 10 minutes. He panicked, shoved his papers together and rushed out, unaware the single most fragile piece of his soul remained behind. The diary. Morning arrived. Aaron noticed immediately, it wasn't in his bag. His blood froze. He tore through his apartment, searching under pillows, between books, beneath the bed. Nothing. He collapsed onto the floor. If anyone found that diary. If he found it? No, that couldn't happen. Fate wasn't that cruel. It was raining when the knock came, sharp, demanding, echoing through the tiny apartment. Aaron opened the door, and the world narrowed to one person. Lucian Drake. Tall, broad-shouldered, black coat dripping rainwater. Expression carved from ice. Eyes like winter, gray, cold, unreadable. And in his hand, the diary. Aaron's lungs forgot how to work. Lucian lifted it slightly, voice low. Lucian, you dropped something. Not angry. Not mocking. Worse, emotionless. Aaron swallowed hard. Aaron, please, give it back. Lucian didn't move. His gaze remained locked on Aaron, so intense it felt like being dissected. He stepped inside without waiting for permission, shutting the door behind him. The air tightened. He opened the diary, not from curiosity but because he already had. Pages rustled, soft, humiliating. Aaron's ears rang. Lucian stopped reading, jaw flexing. Something dark flickered in his eyes. Recognition, maybe? Or something he refused to name. Lucian, you write a lot about me. Aaron's voice cracked. Aaron, it wasn't meant for anyone to see. Lucian didn't respond. He skimmed another line and his breath hitched, barely noticeable, but Aaron caught it. Even if he never looks my way, I'll still be grateful he exists. He closed the diary slowly, almost gently. Then his words landed like a blade. Lucian, don't love me. Silence. Thunder rolled outside. Aaron felt smaller than a raindrop. Aaron, I wasn't going to confess. I know my place. Lucian's voice stayed cold but his eyes weren't. Lucian, people would destroy you just to reach me. Don't make yourself a target. Aaron's heart broke. Not because he was rejected but because Lucian sounded like someone who had already accepted being unloved. Aaron, so I'm the problem? Lucian shook his head, looking away, as if eye contact was dangerous. Lucian, no. I am. He placed the diary on the table, untouched now, yet heavier than before. Then he opened the door, pausing for a heartbeat. Without turning, he whispered, barely audible. Lucian, erase it. Before someone else reads it. And he left. The door closed. Aaron stood frozen, rain still dripping onto his floor, chest aching like a bruise. He reached for the diary, fingers trembling over the leather cover. The ink inside held dreams too soft for reality, too fragile to survive daylight. He pressed it to his chest, once more, and exhaled a shaking breath. Aaron, whispering, I wish you hadn't found it. Outside, footsteps faded into the storm. Inside, Aaron's world collapsed quietly. The next morning, the campus felt different. Aaron could feel eyes on him the moment he stepped through the gates, whispers rippling behind his back like wind cutting through leaves. At first, he thought it was imagined paranoia. But then, Student 1 murmuring, that's him, right? Student 2, the guy Lucian Drake visited last night? Student 3, are they together? Aaron's steps faltered. He wanted to disappear, fade into concrete, dissolve into air. Because nothing traveled faster at Drayden University than rumors involving the Drake heir. Rowan found him near the courtyard fountain, hands shoved into pockets, eyes full of concern. Rowan, hey. What happened? Aaron forced a laugh, brittle and thin. Aaron, nothing. People are dramatic. Rowan raised a brow, he knew Aaron too well. Rowan, look at me and say that again. Aaron couldn't. So Rowan sighed, wrapped an arm around his shoulders, guiding him toward the lecture hall like he was shielding him. Inside the classroom everything stopped. Lucian was already there, sitting at the back, posture straight, expression unreadable. He usually commanded attention effortlessly, but today, everyone watched him with heightened curiosity. When Aaron entered, Lucian's gaze flicked up, swift, sharp, instinctive. For a second their eyes met. And then Lucian looked away like the moment never existed. Aaron's heart sank. He sat in the front row, trying to focus on the professor's voice, but words blurred into static. Every movement behind him felt amplified, the click of Lucian's pen, the rustle of paper, the sound of him breathing. He used to dream of being acknowledged by Lucian. Now silence felt like punishment. After class, students swarmed Lucian, some pretending friendliness, others fishing for gossip. Bold student, so, you and that literature guy, what's the story? Lucian's expression didn't change, but the air did. Lucian, flat, cold, there is no story. People flinched. The crowd scattered instantly, pretending they weren't curious. Aaron heard it as he packed his books. His fingers stilled. No story. It shouldn't have hurt, he knew better, but it did. He left before Lucian could notice. Outside, Rowan caught up again. Rowan, did Lucian say something to you? Aaron's silence was answer enough. Rowan's eyes softened, anger simmering beneath worry. Rowan, he's the one with power, status, everything. Why does he treat you like the one who did something wrong? Aaron stared at his shoes, voice barely a whisper. Aaron, because I loved him when I shouldn't have. Rowan stopped walking, hand landing on Aaron's shoulder. Rowan, loving someone isn't a sin. He doesn't get to dictate how you feel. Aaron shook his head gently. Aaron, he wasn't cruel. Just scared. Of what he didn't know. But the fear in Lucian's eyes last night wasn't something Aaron imagined. When Aaron returned home, the diary sat on his desk. Innocent, quiet, fatal. He ran his fingers along the burned brown leather. Every page was a timestamp of silent devotion. First time seeing Lucian, first time hearing his voice, first time being close enough to smell his cologne. Aaron opened to a random entry. I don't want him to love me back. I just want him to exist near me. His throat tightened. Now even that seemed impossible. He locked the diary inside his drawer, turning the key with trembling hands. Then he sat on the floor, back against the bed, staring at the ceiling. Aaron whispering, I'll stop. I promise. But promises made to a heart rarely hold. Meanwhile, across the city, Lucian sat in his car outside his family's corporate tower, hands gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles whitened. He should have felt relieved. He warned Aaron. He returned the diary. He drew a boundary. So why did it feel like he'd strangled something fragile? Why did every word Aaron wrote echo louder than reality? Even if he never looks my way, I'll still be grateful he exists. Lucian closed his eyes, exhaling. He had spent his life rejecting admiration, affection, attachment. But this felt different, unsettling, unwelcome. And yet, he couldn't stop thinking about it. About him. Aaron didn't know it yet, but Lucian's silence wasn't distance. It was the beginning of regret. The campus gardens were quiet that afternoon, golden leaves drifting like tired feathers, benches half-shadowed by maple branches. It was the kind of place lovers met, where confessions bloomed softly. But Aaron wasn't expecting anyone. He was simply passing through on his way to the library when a hand closed around his wrist, firm, unmistakably strong. Aaron froze. Lucian stood behind him, expression carved from stone, jaw tense, eyes burning with something unreadable. He didn't speak, just pulled Aaron deeper into the garden, away from voices, windows, witnesses. The world shrank to 2 breaths, 2 heartbeats, 2 people trying not to break. When Lucian finally let go, Aaron rubbed his wrist, not because it hurt but because the warmth lingered too long. Aaron, if you're here to return the rumors, I already heard them. Lucian's nostrils flared, annoyed, frustrated, maybe guilty. Lucian, rumors don't matter. Aaron blinked. Then why are you here? Lucian looked around, ensuring they were alone, paranoia in every movement. Lucian, people are watching you. They weren't before. Aaron's chest tightened. Aaron, because of the diary. Lucian closed his eyes, pained, not because Aaron said it but because it was true. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Lucian, people will twist this. Use it. Manipulate it. You won't survive that attention. Aaron forced a laugh, brittle. Aaron, funny. I thought being invisible was the problem. Lucian's eyes snapped open, sharp, wounded, almost panicked. Lucian, you don't understand what being tied to me means. Aaron swallowed, throat dry. Aaron, then explain. Lucian didn't. He couldn't. So he exhaled instead, long, controlled, exhausted. For the first time he looked less like an untouchable heir and more like someone trapped. Lucian, forget me. The words were soft, almost pleading. Aaron's heart cracked, quiet, irreversible. Aaron, I wasn't trying to make you mine. I wasn't going to confess. I know who you are. Lucian flinched, as if those words were a blade. Lucian, then why write all of that? Aaron looked down at his hands, ink-stained, gentle, exposed. Aaron, because loving you silently was the only thing that didn't hurt. Lucian stared, stunned, breath unsteady. Silence stretched between them, dangerous, fragile, beautiful. Leaves swirled at their feet. A single truth spilled out from Aaron's chest, unstoppable. Aaron, if you hated it, you could have thrown the diary away. Burned it. But you didn't. Lucian's gaze wavered, just enough to betray him. Aaron stepped back, realizing something terrifying. Aaron, you kept it. Lucian's throat bobbed. Lucian, I wanted to understand. Aaron, understand what? Lucian didn't answer, but his eyes did. The softness in them, brief, trembling, should never have belonged to him. It felt like a confession wrapped in denial. A distant bell rang, students changing classes, but neither moved. Lucian finally spoke, voice barely steady. Lucian, you deserve someone who can love you back. Aaron's smile wavered, not bitter, just tired. Aaron, doesn't everyone? Lucian inhaled sharply, like he wanted to reach out but forced his hands still. Lucian, not me. And suddenly Aaron understood. This wasn't arrogance. This was self-defense. This was a boy raised to believe love was a liability. Aaron's heart softened painfully. Aaron, I don't want to be your weakness, Lucian. Lucian looked stricken, like someone had finally found the locked room he kept inside. Lucian, you already are. Aaron's breath hitched, hope blooming where it shouldn't. But Lucian killed it instantly. Lucian, which is why you have to stop. Aaron stepped back, this time for self-preservation. Aaron, I will. I promise. And he meant it. Because loving someone shouldn't feel like drowning. Lucian nodded, relieved, devastated, haunted. He turned to leave, but before he did, his voice cracked just enough to reveal truth. Lucian, don't write about me anymore. Not because he didn't want Aaron to, but because he was afraid he wanted him to. Aaron watched him walk away, sunlight catching in his dark hair like a fading memory. The wind carried the last of autumn across the garden, soft, fragile, inevitable. Aaron stood alone, realizing something heartbreaking. He wasn't losing Lucian. He never had him to begin with. What would burn next wasn't the diary. It would be Aaron's hope. The sky was painted in bruised shades of purple and gray, storm clouds gathering like they too sensed something was ending. Aaron climbed the narrow staircase to the rooftop, each step echoing like a goodbye. He held the diary in both hands pressed against his chest, not like a book but like a dying heartbeat. The rooftop was empty, quiet, overlooking the campus lights flickering awake one by one. Students laughed somewhere below, carefree, unaware. Aaron wished he could be one of them. He placed the diary on the concrete ledge, fingers lingering on the worn leather. His thumb grazed the corner where he once doodled Lucian's initials without realizing. A small smile ghosted across his lips, sad, nostalgic, resigned. Rowan arrived moments later, pushing open the rooftop door with a soft sigh. He didn't ask questions. He already knew. Rowan stepped beside him, eyes on the diary, not judgmental, just witnessing. Rowan, are you sure? Aaron swallowed, feeling the weight of every unwritten future. Aaron, it hurts to carry something that will never exist. Rowan's expression softened, gentle grief, not pity. Rowan, then let it go. Aaron nodded. His hand trembled as he struck the match. A tiny flame flared to life, insignificant, almost delicate. But when he lowered it to the diary's edge, paper surrendered instantly. The fire spread, slow at first, then hungrily curling pages inward like fists. Words he once believed sacred turned to smoke. His smile feels like sunrise. I'd choose him in every lifetime. Even if loving him ruins me. They disappeared, one entry at a time. Aaron didn't cry. The ache was too deep for tears. He felt hollow, like burning the diary wasn't destroying something physical, but removing a rib from his chest. Rowan spoke quietly. Rowan, you deserve to be loved back. Aaron kept his eyes on the flame. Aaron, he never asked for my heart. I gave it anyway. The wind shifted, scattering ashes over the edge, like dark snow returning to the earth. Across the courtyard, Lucian was leaving the business building, jacket slung over his arm, when something small and glowing caught his eye. A flame. Flickering high above, on the rooftop. He recognized the shape burning instantly. His pulse stopped. The diary. No. Lucian's feet moved before his mind did, fast, uneven, desperate. He pushed through campus paths, ignoring startled students, ignoring the security guards calling after him. He took the stairs two at a time, breath shallow, heart pounding like a warning siren. Memories flashed, the words he shouldn't have read, the softness he didn't deserve, the purity he didn't know how to hold. He burst through the rooftop door. Just in time to see the last unburned page collapse into ash. Aaron turned, startled, eyes widening, not in guilt but in acceptance. Lucian stared at the smoldering remains, chest rising sharply, breath unstable. For a moment no one spoke. The wind did all the talking, cold, merciless, carrying the ashes between them. Lucian stepped forward, voice hoarse. "Lucian, why did you burn it?" Aaron didn't flinch. He didn't apologize. He simply answered with truth. "Aaron, because loving you shouldn't feel like waiting for pain." Lucian's jaw clenched, regret cracking through the ice. "Lucian, I never asked you to erase it." Aaron looked at him, not angry, not bitter, just tired. "Aaron, you told me not to love you." "Lucian, I told you to protect yourself." Aaron exhaled, a sound too quiet to be a sob, too broken to be a breath. "Aaron, this is me protecting myself." Rowan stepped back, sensing this wasn't a conversation meant for witnesses. Lucian ran a hand through his hair, the closest he'd ever come to losing composure in public. He looked terrified. Not of Aaron. Of the loss. "Lucian, I wasn't finished reading." The confession slipped out, raw, stunned, vulnerable. Aaron's heart twisted painfully. "Aaron, but I was finished writing." Silence. The flame finally died, leaving only warm ash. Lucian stared at it like he just watched something priceless die. He took a step closer, voice barely a whisper. "Lucian, you didn't have to burn it." Aaron met his gaze, steady, resolute. "Aaron, yes I did. Because if I didn't, I'd never stop hoping." Lucian's breath shattered. Because deep down he knew that was true. The wind carried the last specks of ash into the sky, scattering them between stars. What once was love now belonged to the universe. And for the first time in his life, Lucian Drake wished he had asked someone to stay. Lucian didn't remember walking back down the rooftop stairs. One moment he was staring at ashes floating like dead snow, and the next, he was sitting in his car, hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. His pulse wouldn't slow. He had expected relief once the diary was gone. An end to the feelings he didn't want, didn't understand, didn't deserve. Instead, something inside him felt violently hollow, like a door slammed shut and locked forever. He hadn't realized how much he depended on those pages until they no longer existed. Not because they praised him, but because they saw him. The him no one else bothered to look for. Meanwhile, Aaron took the long way home, quiet sidewalks, street lamps glowing like tired ghosts. His chest felt sore like he'd carved something out with his own hands. Rowan walked beside him, silent support. Eventually Aaron spoke, voice barely audible. "Aaron, do you think I was dramatic?" Rowan shook his head immediately. "Rowan, no. You finally chose yourself." Aaron let out a shaky breath, the kind people use to stay alive when breathing hurts. "Aaron, then why doesn't it feel like freedom?" Rowan looked at him, not with pity but with love. "Rowan, because letting go of someone you wanted isn't freedom. It's grieving." Aaron didn't reply. He didn't need to. His silence was loud enough. Across the city, Lucian sat in his dim apartment. Lights off, curtains closed, world muted. His coat was still on. He hadn't bothered to remove it. He stared at his hand, still faintly dusted with gray. He had knelt down on that rooftop, trying to hold remnants that couldn't be held, trying to undo a moment already gone. He remembered one sentence from the diary clearer than his own name. "If I ever disappear from his life, I hope he notices." Lucian exhaled, slow, agonized. He noticed. He wished he didn't. His phone vibrated, his father calling. Probably about the arranged engagement with the prestigious Ferris family. A merger disguised as a wedding. Lucian ignored it. It rang again. And again. Eventually he answered, not because he wanted to but because the ringing felt like needles in his skull. "Dean Drake, you've embarrassed us. Running across campus like a delinquent. What the hell happened?" Lucian closed his eyes. "Lucian, nothing you'd care to understand." Dean, then stop making it noticeable. The Ferris deal is crucial, don't ruin it over some boy with a diary. Every syllable struck like a hammer. Lucian didn't respond. 2 days passed. And for the first time since they'd entered university, Lucian didn't see Aaron anywhere. No quiet presence in the library, no shy glance across lecture halls, no soft footsteps leaving before him. Aaron had evaporated. Lucian tried to focus in class, but his eyes kept drifting to the seat Aaron usually occupied, now filled by someone else who didn't matter. Rowan noticed. From across the room, he stared at Lucian with a look halfway between warning and hatred. Lucian finally understood why. To Rowan, Lucian wasn't an heir or a legacy. He was the reason someone gentle had to learn pain. That night, Lucian drove back to campus. He climbed the rooftop stairs again, slow, deliberate, almost reverent. Nothing remained. Not a page. Not a scrap of leather. Only gray dust washed thin by rain. He knelt, placing his hand on the concrete like laying flowers on a grave. Lucian, whispering, "I didn't want it gone." The admission felt forbidden, dangerous, like something he wasn't allowed to feel out loud. But the rooftop wasn't judging him. Only listening. Aaron, miles away, sat at his desk staring at a blank notebook. Not a diary this time, just paper. He tried to write, about classes, weather, his day, anything. But every sentence felt dishonest. He wasn't ready to write again. Not when his words had turned to ash. He closed the notebook and rested his head on folded arms, whispering into the quiet. "Aaron, I wish I had loved someone forgettable. But hearts don't choose based on convenience. They choose based on gravity." And Lucian Drake had been a black hole. Lucian's regret grew heavier by the day, quiet, suffocating, intolerable. For the first time in his life, he wanted something he wasn't allowed to have. Not power. Not money. Not reputation. Just one soft, fragile thing. Someone who had loved him before he ever deserved it. And now that love was gone. Not misplaced. Not hidden. Destroyed. By him. Lucian's last thought before sleep finally claimed him. If I hadn't told him not to love me, would the diary still exist? The answer didn't matter. Because regret never rewrites history. It only watches it burn. The night after the bonfire celebration felt unnaturally still, yet inside the Lancaster mansion, everything was collapsing. Elias stood in his bedroom, the soft glow from the bedside lamp casting long shadows against the walls. The air smelled faintly of burnt paper, an echo of the diary that no longer existed. He was still holding the charred metal ribbon clasp he had found in the ashes, one he had returned to you years ago on your 15th birthday. It was all that survived. For the first time in his life, Elias looked devastated. He finally read the diary, too late. Hours earlier, after guests left, he had gone to his study and opened the diary you secretly slipped into his coat pocket. One he thought was just another journal. Curiosity made him open it. Every page was inked with admiration, longing, small moments he never noticed, things you remembered. When he held an umbrella over you in the rain. When he tied your loose shoelace. When he defended you from his father. When he said your name like it mattered. Each page pulsed with quiet, patient love. And then the final entry hit him like a blade. Tomorrow I will give up. Loving him isn't courage anymore, it's self-destruction. Elias didn't even realize he was trembling until a tear fell onto the page. He ran to find you. He searched the hall, the garden, the empty guest rooms, calling your name louder each time. The servants had never seen the cold air so frantic. Finally, one of the maids whispered, "Young master left tonight, carrying a suitcase." The clock struck midnight. You were gone. Realization hurt more than rejection. You hadn't left because he rejected you. You left because you finally believed you didn't deserve to stay. That truth gutted him. He sank to the staircase steps, gripping the railing, breathing like he'd been stabbed. His chest felt too small, like his heart was punishing him for noticing everything too late. He remembered the day he warned you. Never love me. He thought he was protecting you. Instead, he erased himself from your world. The confession he never gave. The diary had revealed something else, something he never admitted to himself. He had been in love with you all along. In the way his eyes always found you in crowded rooms. In the way silence felt comfortable only when you were in it. In the way he noticed your absence faster than anyone else. But he was raised to believe affection was weakness. So he buried it, deep enough that even he couldn't recognize it. Until now. And now, you were gone. You went to the bonfire ground. The ashes still glowed faintly. He crouched down, fingers sifting through blackened fragments as if trying to piece each word back together. A gust of wind carried the burnt remains across the field, like scattering memories. Elias whispered, voice breaking. Why didn't you give me time to love you back? His regret was loud enough to echo through the empty night. The heir who never chased anyone, finally did. The next morning, a shocked but loyal assistant stood before him. Sir, where are we going? Elias buttoned his coat, jaw tight, eyes burning with determination. To bring him home. For the first time in his life, Elias wasn't walking toward an arranged future. He was running after the only person he chose. Because losing an empire wouldn't hurt. But losing you already did. The countryside train station was nearly empty, cold morning light spilling across metal tracks, pigeons fluttering on roof beams. Your suitcase sat by your feet, the ticket tucked in your palm. A one-way trip. To anywhere that didn't hurt. You wrapped your scarf tighter, exhaling into the winter air. You weren't running for love, you were running for peace. For the first time since childhood, Elias wasn't there behind you. You told yourself that was good. But your chest still ached like something had been carved out. You didn't expect him to come. A sharp echo of footsteps interrupted the quiet. Slow at first, then faster. You turned. Elias stood at the entrance, breathless, coat unbuttoned, hair messy like he'd been running for miles. His usually expressionless face, shaken, terrified, human. For a heartbeat, neither of you spoke. Then his eyes found the suitcase. And panic flashed across his face. Don't go. His voice cracked, not commanding, not cold, begging. You tried to stay strong. You swallowed, looking away. Elias, you don't get to say that. Not after everything. He walked toward you, slow, as if afraid you'd vanish. I read it, he whispered. Your diary. Your chest tightened. Of course he did. He continued, voice trembling. Every line felt like a gift, one I threw away. The apology he owed you. Elias took a shaky breath. I thought pushing you away would protect you from my world. From my family. From me. You forced a small laugh. And instead, it destroyed me quietly. His composure shattered. He stepped closer, eyes glossy, something no one had ever seen from the Lancaster heir. I'm sorry. For the warning. For pretending I didn't care. For letting you believe you were alone. Silence fell, gentle, heavy, honest. You finally spoke your truth. I loved you for years, Elias. But loving you felt like bleeding. I didn't know how to stay without losing myself. Your voice wavered, but you didn't look away. And when I burned that diary, it was me choosing to live. Elias closed his eyes, like the words hurt and healed him at once. I deserved that, he whispered. Then he said what you never expected. He reached into his coat and pulled out the surviving metal clasp, the only remnant of your diary. This is all I have left of your love. He held it out. But I don't want a memory. I want you. Your breath caught. I love you. No hesitation. No fear. No warning to stay away. It was raw, real, late but true. You let him hurt a little. What changed? You asked quietly. His answer was immediate. You left. His voice broke. And suddenly every room, every hallway, felt wrong without you in it. The moment the world stopped, the station speakers announced. Final boarding call, platform 3. Your hand tightened on your ticket. Elias stepped forward, gently taking your wrist, never forcing, only asking. Please, don't choose a life without me before I even get to try. You looked at him, really looked. The cold, untouchable air was gone. In front of you was a man stripped of pride, terrified of losing what he finally understood. And for the first time, he was the one chasing you. You made him earn your answer. If I stay, you said softly, you don't get to run from feelings, hide behind duty, or pretend I don't matter. He nodded instantly. You are the only thing that matters. Your heart stuttered. And you'll let me love you the way I always wanted to? He stepped even closer, foreheads almost touching, breath mingling. No, he whispered. You blinked. Then he smiled, small, shaken, beautiful. This time, I'll love you first. The ending that was always meant to happen. Your ticket slipped from your hand, drifting to the floor. Elias exhaled, relief and disbelief mixing into something breathtaking. You didn't even realize you were crying until he wiped away the tear with his thumb, gentle, worshipping. Come home, he murmured. You nodded. I never wanted to leave. He kissed you, not rushed, not desperate, just grateful. Like he'd finally found what he'd been missing his whole life. New beginning. Hand in hand, you walked out of the station. No more warnings, no more silence, no more unspoken love. Behind you, the train departed. Ahead of you, a future waited. Not because fate chose it, but because he finally did.